Good morning and welcome back to Keeping Critters. The video today, we're going to be doing some things for this girl right here. This is Charlotte. She's our panther chameleon. She is going to lay eggs in about a week and a half, 2 weeks or so. I was going to bring her out, but she is still asleep this morning. She was a nice peach color, and then I tried to get her to come off her branch, and so now you can see the dark streaks. So she was a little bit annoyed with me. So we'll leave her in there while we work on an egg laying box for her. So let me turn you around. Okay, so here we are. So like I was saying, Charlotte is going to lay eggs in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. We just kind of have an estimate of when she's gonna do that. She was bred when we got her. We got her about 5 or 6 days ago. He thought it would be probably 2 weeks. But I think I commented about this before. I'm making records so that we know from time to time how long, different things take. So we just have an approximate idea. So we want to get ready for it because what they do is they're up in their trees, but as they get ready to lay eggs, they come down to the bottom and they start to dig. So they dig a hole and lay their eggs in the hole, and then they cover it back up. So we want to be prepared for that. So what I have out today, this is our bin that we use. We like the clear bin because that way if we're not around and we haven't seen where she's gone, we can at times see through here to see approximately where the eggs are. And I have some pictures of Penelopes. So it was really nice to know this is a general area that we're looking for. And then water. So have a big jug of water. The medium, it needs to be able to stay together. So when they're tunneling holes, it doesn't collapse on them. So we make sure it's moist. We'll kind of do some squeeze testing so that we see how much moisture we can squeeze out of it, because we don't want to be able to squeeze a ton of moisture out of it. That means it's too wet. And I have an extra bin so we can kind of work on the mixture and what it's going to look like prior to putting it in the big bin, so I don't have to keep taking it back out if I don't like it. And then these are the things that I got. We did a ton of research. We determined that a lot of people use an organic topsoil and sand. So that's not what we use for Penelope, but we decided that we were going to give it a try. The medium that we used for Penelope was coconut husk, and it worked okay. What we want to make sure we don't use anything that they might ingest, because when we're feeding them crickets, their tongues are very sticky. And in a future video, we'll watch some of them eat. And so we want to make sure that whatever gets on their food and could possibly be ingested is okay for them. They don't typically eat while they're digging and all that kind of stuff, so it's kind of good. But after a ton of research, a lot of people use play sand, which is right here behind me. I have it all ready to go. And the other thing they use is an organic potting soil, or organic topsoil is what I got. So I just went to Home Depot, picked up both of those things. And we've decided that we'd like to give that a try and see how we like that. So it's really just experimenting what we find works best for us and of course for our chameleons. And I have her door open. I'm gonna leave it open and see if she comes out to us. She may or may not. And then of course Augie's right over here. Like I said in previous videos, he's usually not very far away from me. So obviously he thinks he's gonna help. So at some point while we're talking, we're probably gonna see Augie digging in my topsoil. Anyway, so I'm gonna take my sample bucket, I've got myself a nice blue cup here this morning, and get a couple scoops of the topsoil. So I'm gonna put the topsoil in, and I'm going to get a scoop of sand, which actually the sand is already moist. So it's kind of helpful because The last time when we were mixing our mediums together, it was really, it took a lot of water. But let me, now my hands are filthy. I'm gonna bring you down a little bit lower so you can kind of see the box as I'm working it. So we can do both things at one time. So I'm just gonna mix it together. I haven't done this before, so I'm not really sure exactly what consistency, how much sand to topsoil ratio that we want. So it's gonna be a little bit of experimenting, and I thought we'd experiment in this little bitty container really quick. So I already know right now that it's not moist enough. So as you can tell, if I were to try to dig a hole in here, I got it all compact together, it's really just gonna fall apart. So we already know we're gonna need a lot more water. So I literally am just gonna take my water and I'm gonna start dumping. So let that soak in a little bit, move it around, and then going to really get it in there, get a good mix going on. Take out some of the kind of bigger stick things. That was really gonna be my concern with the organic topsoil. Is what was going to be in it. So I know that the coconut husks was very soft. It didn't have a lot of sticks and things in it. But this one isn't too bad. I just pulled one out, but that's okay. Just go ahead and pull it out. Squeeze test. So you can see I have a couple of drips going on. We don't want to have a lot of moisture coming out of it. And it held together a lot better than it had been. So I think I'm making good progress here. So what I just used was 1-to-1 ratio. So I think that's what I'm gonna kind of go with. It's a little bit too wet, so you can see the water dripping out of it. We don't want to have that happen. Too much moisture is not good. So I know as we go along, I won't fill my bin completely full right off the bat. That way if I need to add more medium to it so it's not so wet, I can do that. Because I don't want to have to dump it out and start all over again. Although we can. I've got a couple bins kind of hiding out around the house. So I'm going to dump what I just made into there. And then we're going to keep digging in the dirt. So it's going to take quite a bit of the soil to make it happen. So let me, I guess, forget the cup. We're just gonna dive right in. At this point, it looks like it's probably gonna need a floor sweep and mop. So, okay, got my bucket just about halfway full with the potting soil. And so then I'm gonna do that with the sand. That is gonna, I don't think I'm gonna be able to pull that out of there like I did with my hands. So, let's use my cup. Take a look back here at Miss Charlotte. Nope, she hasn't come out for us yet. Her color's gone back to a nice peach color. So her annoyance with me didn't last very long. And Charlotte is pretty new to us. Like I said, we've had her 5 or 6 days. And so kind of taking it easy with her and how much I bring her out and handle her. She did come from the same person that Penelope did. So their previous handling and everything is probably pretty similar. And Penelope really likes to be out with you. So I'm sure in time that Charlotte will as well. So I guess I should have brought Penelope out. I'm sorry. Augie is definitely helping us this morning. Okay, so I have a ton of sand in here now. So let's mix the 2 mediums together. We'll pull out any large sticks that I find along the way. Augie, leave it. Good boy. So, okay. Mix, 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 mix is what we need to get done. I don't want to put the water in it yet. I want to make sure that we've got the sand spread all throughout it really good before I add the water. So here we go. So we're looking pretty good. I know that it's really dry, of course. So at this point, I'm going to add some water and start mixing again. I don't have it as full as I'm going to have it. I left it out a little left a lot of it out so that I have this to adjust my moisture levels by either adding water or adding the sand and soil to it. So Augie's sure that I've buried a bone or something in here, I think. He's watching me intently. So let's get this all mixed up really well, and then we'll do a squeeze test. We'll see what it looks like when we are trying to dig a tunnel. I gotta tell you, I'm not really crazy about this topsoil that I got. It was made with 3 ingredients. It was an all natural because I wanted to make sure that I had organic and I didn't have a bunch of things in there that could be harmful to my chameleon or her eggs. Augie, leave it. And it does have some sticks and stuff in it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it put together. I'll put it in the box, but I might switch it because I'm really just not crazy about it. Might be good for my plants, but probably not good for this. So Augie, leave it. Go lay down. Sorry guys. So anyway, oh, it crumbled. Okay, so that says to me I don't have quite enough water in it yet. But what we're looking for is if I take a handful of it and I squeeze it, I can't get any water out of it. So I haven't added too much water yet, but it's really the water that kind of helps hold it all together. So I can make a pretty good ball with it at this point, but it did crumble somewhat. So I'm gonna add some more water to it. And this is probably the stage where I go from not enough water to too much water. So we'll mix this around really good. Make sure we're pulling it out of the corners because they definitely like to dig in those corners. So I can tell Augie, leave it, please. No. I can definitely tell that there's good moisture in it. It feels damp but not wet. So we're getting pretty close to where we want to be. So we'll just keep digging. Get it out of the bottom because they will dig all the way to the bottom of the thing. So we want to make sure that the medium, the substrate from all the way from the top to the bottom is completely mixed in. And I can tell when I go to the sides and the corners that I still have some sand down in there. So I'm going to move it around a little bit. We'll give it another squeeze test really quickly here and see how we're doing. I'm going to pull this corner out. There's some extra sand. And we check this corner and then this back wall. Okay, so now, woo, squeeze test. I get a handful of dirt, squeeze it. Okay, I don't have any water coming out of it, which is fabulous. It holds together really nicely in clumps, so I have to physically use my fingers to break it apart, so it's staying together pretty well. So I think we're getting pretty close. But as you can tell, my bucket's not full. So I still have about 3, maybe 4 inches. So we're gonna add some more. And I know I don't have to really worry about the bottom section. I can get the top section mixed up together really quick and then mix it into the bottom section after I have this top section right. Okay, so that's about halfway full of what I needed in that. So then I'm gonna add my sand. So if you're ever down here in Vegas and you want to come play in dirt and sand, I'm happy to have you over. Come take a look at everybody. And you can help me do this. Okay, so I'm going to put one more thing of sand in here. Then Augie. That's it, lay down, good job. Okay, so I'm going to mix this together really quick before I put my water in. Still got some sticks in there. I don't like that at all whatsoever. But that's okay. I got plenty of time to pick them out of here. Okay, so let's get these two mixed in pretty good before I add water. And you can tell how much lighter this is than what we have in the bottom. So it doesn't form anything when we squeeze it together. Let's add our water. And I still have a little bit of room in the top if I kind of go overboard with my water, because the only way to correct that is to add more medium. So you can tell right away it starts to clump together, as you can see as we go along. So we're getting there, pulling out a little bit from the first layer that we did, making sure that it's about the same medium, and it is. It feels pretty similar to what we have in the bottom. So let's just get it all rubbed in, moved around. Still have some sections that are got sand clumps in them, I guess. Okay, so now you can tell by its color. So this is my topsoil. It's really dark, and this is my mixture. So you can tell there's quite a bit of sand mixed in with this. When we do the clump test up here on the top section, squeeze in really hard. I don't have any water coming out of it, which is perfect, but I do have these great little clumps. Now, this one fell apart pretty easily, so I'm thinking I don't have quite enough water in it, so I'm gonna add just a little bit more and mix it around. We'll do the squeeze test again, just to make sure. But it's easier to add more water at this point than it's gonna be for me to add more of the soil and the sand. So I'm trying to be kind of careful with the amount of water that I put into it. Okay. Okay, so squeeze test. Woo, here we go. Okay, nothing. Great. So I still don't have too much water in it, which is great. And then my little clumps, sorry, I didn't really squeeze that together very good, but my little clumps are perfect. So they're quite hardy, which means when she digs, she's gonna be able to dig tunnels in here and it's not gonna collapse on her. So we do keep a close eye on them when it happens, because you don't want anything to happen to her. This weighs quite a bit, so we don't want it on top of her. And so for Penelope, we spend a lot of time trying to peek around our barrier. So they get really shy when they're laying eggs and they don't like to be looked at. So you don't want to keep looking at her because that will scare her off from laying her eggs and she'll become egg bound, and that's fatal, or can be fatal. The eggs are stuck and they're not able to lay them, so we don't want that to happen. So for Miss Charlotte, we're gonna put a cam in there. That way we can monitor her without bothering her. But anyway, we got this all. I'm pretty confident with what I've got. I can feel the moisture in it. It clumps together really well, but it's not overly moist. It's good and wet. And every day I will spray the top of this with our mister, which is just a spray bottle full of water that we have neutralized all the chemicals or whatever that might be in it. So next, we're gonna go to the cage. Okay, so we're over at our cage, and what we're gonna do is, in the bottom of the cage, you can see, we have this artificial turf as the bottom of the cage, we've read a ton of information about what to use down there, and really a lot of them recommend just newspaper, paper towels. You don't want to have sand, you don't want to have bark or mulch or anything like that, because their tongues are sticky. And so if they're feeding and they shoot their tongue out and they get their cricket, they might also end up with that as well. The artificial turf was something that came in a lot of the cages that we got. And I actually really like it. I know a lot of people use the newspaper and the paper towels, really easy to clean and take care of, which is great, but I can take this stuff out and wash it off too. And it just looks really much nicer. So I have, you know, kind of what this cage looks like. And then if we go over here, this cage doesn't have it. So then, ew. Anyway, to each his own. So I don't mind the extra work, taking that out and getting it cleaned off. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to put her box in the bottom of her cage. because she will come down just like she would do in the forest. She'll come down to the forest floor. She'll find the laying box and she'll be able to dig holes in it. And she'll dig some trial holes before she actually lays. So we'll know when she's getting closer. And with Penelope, it took her probably 5 or 6 days. We noticed she'd come down, dig holes, not like them, climb back up, before she finally said, okay, this is the perfect hole, and she went on and laid her eggs. So there's a lot of sticks and stuff already, as you can tell, in Miss Charlotte's cage. So I'm gonna take a couple of them out just so that I can get this into the bottom. So, oh good Lord, it's so heavy, it's ridiculous. Okay, so a lot of these sticks that are in her cage are actually tied to the sides. I know this big one is not because I've moved it around before. So I just want to make sure it's out of my way for a minute. Then I'm going to slip this one underneath the other ones. Okay, so I got that in there. This one's popped through, so I'll put it back. One of the things that's really important for them is to have multiple ways to be able to get down to their box. So you have to make sure that there are sticks in the box that she can climb on and back down. And this stick is so tall, I might actually have to break off some of it. Okay, so we got it back down there. Oh, and I put a hole in the top of the cage just now. Wonderful. So I'll have to do a repair on that one here in just a little bit. But that gives her this stick she can use to climb down in there. We also have these, which are nice, and you can use them as well. So I can stick that in, kind of put it off of something else that she tends to go to. So she's on this branch quite frequently, so she can use the leaves to come down. She can use this to come down. And then I will probably zip tie it to there so that it doesn't move when she gets on it. There's also this one that she's currently on. So if I bring you over, okay, so if I bring you over, she is currently on this stick, but as you can tell, it wraps around and here's the end of it. So this one was actually tied off over there, but probably what I'm gonna do is tie it off to this one in the end. So we'll tie it off here. And that way she has the ability to come down, get in here. She can take multiple routes to get here, but it's not so much that it's covering her box. So she, as you can tell, she really isn't minding that we're in here. She's a nice bright peach color, cute little tail wrapped up this morning. So usually when I first get them up in the morning, I turn on our mister system and let it run for a while. And that usually gets them up and moving for the day, but I haven't done that yet. So she's content to continue to nap right here. But now I feel a lot better. We've got the medium going. We will get a nanny cam or something in here so that we can monitor her without looking. And we'll put up some barriers. And so when we do that, I'll show that to you as well. But anyway, so this is Charlotte. This is her new laying box right here. Thanks for joining me this morning and have a fabulous day, everyone.